All right, we are live, so give it a couple seconds.
I hope you guys hear me fine.
Usually the notifications pops up on the bottom left corner, so
Yeah.
then people are like, "Oh shit, toilet paper! Holy fuck!" What's up, everyone? This is the Kimchi Chronicles live again on episode 7 or 8, and today I'm going to interview a financial advisor. His name is Ralph, and the topic of today is going to be just a little bit of a key points on the financial situation right now, and a little bit about why people would freak out with the toilet paper and the reactions behind that. But what is the true meaning behind the curtains? What is really going on, and how you can properly, I guess, mitigate and protect yourself and kind of prepare for the next crisis. So, without further ado, this is Rao.
Hi. Just to address that crisis part, I don't want to say that it's usually a crisis because as a financial advisor, we already know that these market crashes always happen like 7 to 8 years, sometimes even stretches to 10. It really depends, but the whole crashing part is normal, and so is the growth part. So right now, like the reason why everybody's like buying toilet paper is because of the virus, right? But what that's really doing to you financially is actually quite a huge impact. Especially right now, like where you're not really certain what to do with the money, and then you've also spent it on toilet paper. Then you find out what happens later, and then now you miss out. You know what I mean? Um, there's a lot of the things right now on media that's really suggesting people to panic, and that is a fact. Like the thing is, too, people are really dying, right? Wouldn't you agree? Um, the thing is, like, what is it to us while everybody is like taken off of work because of all of these deaths and stuff, and how we're trying to flatten the curve? Um, how what does it mean to us? Because all it really means to the people that are staying home right now is that they don't have money to pay the bills, even if they're trying to give you the relief emergency fund. What is that like your CRB thing, right? What's the situation on that one, Kim? Actually, like you get you get $2,000, I believe, right?
Yeah, 2000 for 4 months.
Yeah, and that's taxable, isn't?
Yeah.
So when do you actually have to, like when would a person really try to plan to pay those taxes? And if they were going through something like this, do they even plan to pay it back? And that's the thing that's really hard for us. It's like we do get the emergency fund, but that's the thing. Like we're gonna be going back to work, catching up on what we missed already, which the emergency fund helped, but now we also have to like address to that.
For
It's
4 months, right? And we don't know if this virus is going to happen until maybe uh,
yeah,
November to January.
yeah. And then there was just a new, like the news just came out too. Like I hope it's fake news saying that this might stretch out to 2022. And I really hope that's not true. And I'm really just waiting for the verification of that one. But that's the thing, like you never know what it's like for the people that used to do jobs that require them to show up at work. Nowadays too, like there's a lot of like there's an insurgence of people trying to work online now. There's a there's a spike of like Zoom hacks and stuff, but other than that, like at least we're not people to be hacked for like when it comes to these things, like when you
Yeah.
appeal for like unless you're a celebrity, then be scared for that. But what I'm saying is that like it's an evolution towards the virtual reality. And people, whether they like it or not, the longer this thing gets, the worse it gets for them and the deeper hole they're going to be. And what I want to go further also is that if this was so that we just have to stay home for who knows how long, isn't this a great time to really not spend on toilet paper, but instead start like stocking up those money because you don't know what's going to happen next yet. And I understand people who don't understand stocks don't want to invest right now. But what's really key here is that as it goes down, it gets cheaper for you to invest in. And what that means is it might not be the best time to invest now, but by the time things get better and you don't have anything like, like if you never started any online income, You never try to come up with ways to really make money at home. By the time things get better, you're gonna miss out on how people have, like, capitalized on, what do you call this pretty what how would you describe this quarantine? Because this is a really like uncertain quarantine, that because how long did SARS take? Like, people have an idea of how long SARS took, right? Nobody still really exactly came up with a cure, nor did they need the cure to stop the outbreak. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But nobody was prepared in general. That's the thing. They already saw it back then. How come we're not learning from that one right now? When it comes to the financial sense, because medical industry, I can't speak for them, to be honest. But when it comes to the financial crisis, or when it comes to financial recovery, it's all the same thing. It's really just, like, the concept of when these things happen, like, the concept usually is to stock up, whether that's money or that's toilet paper or whatever you need to stock up on. But if you don't make it grow during the times where you don't get income, it's gonna mess you up by the time, like, things really get back, because you're still gonna show up to work. You're catching up at the same time. You're also just on a rat race, just like how you were before. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know where exactly this is gonna get with people, but I really just hope that they can come up with something where it'll help them now, like whether that's a drawing. And because I really know people that have started drawing and then just started selling their art online, because there still are people that can purchase those things. While people are home, they're actually buying more art, for example. And I think you know that more because you look into SEOs more, right? And the trending topics right now. And that's the thing. Like, it's just crazy how we never saw this happening. But for those who just always were like working on their craft and were able to transition really quickly, same with the dancers. Like, like, these guys have a way to really get out of it. And I don't know, like, do you have any questions, Kim, though, like, with what I'm saying in terms of?
Well, I find that I guess the key point here is uh, because this whole situation started, people are, yes, in fact, in panic mode. So they tend to stock up, or people are like really in a fearful state. And then there's a chunk of people that are like, okay, well, I really have this huge wake up call, and now is the time to actually work on the things that they've been putting on hold. And, another example is, let's say business owners or people that run their own thing, they've kind of neglected a lot on getting an online presence, getting that online income. And they're like, oh, we don't need a digital presence. And then all of a sudden, this giant wrecking ball comes in called COVID-19, and they're like, whoa, shit. So here's a little cool fun fact idea that you can play around is essentially, now is the time to prepare so you can prepare for the next one. We don't know when it is, but if I were to say that, if this virus would have ended tomorrow, how many would actually be prepared? So many people wouldn't be, right? So if what's next to like starting like 10, 20 years ago is starting now. So it's best to have these kind of like emergency funds or some kind of way to kind of fall back on. And it's just like anything, you just got to be prepared. And the best time is now, and there are ways where we can make that happen.
So, uh, it's good that you mentioned that, because there is this thing about dancers and stuff, right? Typically, when dancers teach in a studio, like dance teachers, I'm trying to say, I guess, dance teachers would then teach at a studio typically, right?
Yeah.
Although it's not as simple as just saying, like, yeah, do your online classes now and just start charging, because right now, while these things are down and nobody's actually like doing anything, there there are many dance teachers that are doing it for free. So now, like, I literally talked to a few dancers and stuff, and they literally said, like, it's good that we go online, but everybody's thinking the same thing. And what's even worse is that they're giving it away for free. So who would I be, and how would I even like start charging based on that? That's like a hard concept, but there's a lot of these things that you really should believe in, like, when it comes to your own creative output, because doing things for free can lead to things where they will pay you anyways. And you already know that by as a person, like, who's interviewed many different, like, a sales marketing expert. You've already asked a few entrepreneurs as well that, like, like, wrap around this, like, bloggers and such. um you already get that these free things essentially, like, I think it's just a matter of really putting this out to people and letting them feel okay about putting their craft out there, or even starting a craft, or starting something that just, like, it's funny because nowadays, now that it's ghost town and everything, everybody's back to hustle, these.
Yeah.
And then it's, what's the challenge is, like, no physical contact. So there are those rules, but you can still work around it. And before even this happened, you already know that e-commerce has been big. Not saying you start e-commerce, but because of Zoom even, or StreamYard, like, we're able to start things like these. I'm able to share what I know and stuff. And if people even want to know deeply and stuff, because I can't really do the math and stuff. Like, I'm not great at math, but I do have a software that helps me calculate for people, even on times like these. Um, it's just a matter of really understanding that it's all okay right now. And right now is actually even the best time to start something that you've always wanted to start, and make something out of it, even when things get better later. Because that's the thing. What's what really what really what do you call this, like, what really lets me, like, like, understand that people get it, is that when they really have, like, let go of the dependency of the job itself, or shifts, like job shifts, anything that you have to, like, apply a resume with and stuff. Like, people always depend on that, right? That's always what we've always tried to put as a standard income. But that's the thing, like, things change, and now I hope people get that what used to be stable isn't so stable always. Not that they're gonna get better again, but at least for times like these, they're always never on, like, they're never gonna be buried. And yeah, I'm not sure how people are gonna try to, like, come up with that, because that's the thing. Like, there are people that go, like, I don't even draw, I don't even interview people, I'm too shy. But there is something, whether that's cooking, whether that's just art, whether that's, you just giving suggestion based on what you've already experienced. There's a lot of things out there that you can do and stuff, and you can even work together with people who know how to do that. Like, imagine if someone was to just, like, that's how they're doing reliefs right now. Those people giving away food and stuff, like, going working together. I think
Yeah.
they didn't really specialize in something like art, but they know how to make things work and work together with people. And in doing that, even if that's giving away a lot of things, they're gonna get a lot back, especially in times like these. Same thing that you're doing. You're doing this for free. You're giving me value. This already gives you value automatically, whether or not, like, I answer your questions, whether or not you really got the answer from me. Like, I hope you really ask me questions, because, like, I'm just, like, rambling in here too, and I don't want to, like, just like, ramble off and stuff. If anything, like, I want to be able to answer your questions.
Yeah. So, well, essentially, for the viewers, like, what is it like? Many of us, including myself, are very just like misinformed about what the next step is, and even for me, like, I sometimes you can get that income, but you can lavishly spend that, but then when something unexpected happens, and then when it comes down to like paying for your bills and whatnot, you're pretty screwed if you don't have like any savings or any emergency funds. So what is it that you can at least get started, even though like it is a hard thing to kind of like address for many of us, and it's a very vulnerable thing when it comes to like our finances. But what is it that we can get started to mentally uh, prepare? What kind of resources should we do to kind of reinforce our knowledge and start?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Before I proceed and stuff, like, I hope nobody takes this as their own personal legal advice. I just want them to know a different perspective from a person like me. Because me too, I just want to point out there that I too am like pretty affected by this whole thing. Like just to even go further, like when this all happened, like none of the online thing was even allowed in my job. We all had to like meet them in person. But now that things changed, we now have a system that goes on face to face. So it was quite a transition for us to adjust to as well. And like that's saying some people don't usually have that option. It's not like people who work in Safeway can just all of a sudden work online. Do you know what I mean? So the only thing I can tell them is that like it's that like by now you probably have spent over $500 on toilet paper. In doing that, there could be ways where you could spend that $500 on, for example, like being financially educated. And that itself isn't even like it's just like a school. It's a central place. Nowadays it can be online too, and it always has been online before. Like all the financial knowledge and the financial literacy that people have been passing along these days, it all comes from there too. And that's where your money could go. Just a little investment towards financial education could go a long way for you. And maybe that could even get you more toilet paper if you really need it. Us Filipinos, we use water and soap. You already know that every time.
Yeah.
There's no way we're just gonna wipe it, or there's no way we're just gonna use water. This water and soap. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like for people that really need the toilet paper, at least they get to get more toilet paper, especially right now.
Mm.
And that's the thing. Like you mentioned earlier, and we don't know how long it'll stretch, but the sooner people can find something in terms of like online, that's the thing. People used to be so reluctant about those online things, right? Because work from home, what is this? Like, how does this even work? Nowadays, like, they might as well check it out because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. So Ralph, again, this financial world, this financial space is something that I'm not totally too clear on, and I know there's like countless ways where people can start planting some seeds and growing some investments and actually making some money. So the reason why I brought you on board is so that you can kind of clarify those kind of things for me and in my audience as well, because
Mm.
like there are so many ways. But what would be, I guess, the easiest way for like for beginners to actually get their foot in the door and to actually see some increase or see some income, like something that's not too much of a I guess a deficit or a risk or a liability to us, but something that where we can just get our foot in the door and get started and at least grow something, something tangible and more long term.
Mm. So you're looking for something where they could just get right now, right? In terms of like just learn in a process or as a
Essentially,
process. I
yes.
mean,
So essentially, knowledge is the ultimate investment. So we're pulling that towards the financial part. What is it that what is it that I that we can do to start with that?
oh, so I can just break it down and then I can leave the rest for people to really need me because that's what my license is for and stuff. I'm not
Yeah.
usually, like I'm not I'm not able to like personalize it if I have too many people all at once. But like when it comes
Right.
to it, like, they can ask later. But generally, what you want to do with the money that you have right now, because there are those people who are just asking what to do with their money right now. Just keep it for essentials and don't even worry about what's happening out there because what you have right now, like how you're going to get foot in the door, there's people out there, not just me, that literally share information on what to do with your money and stuff and how to save it better. Because a lot of it, like the worst thing that people do right now is pretty much, oh, I got an RSP. And now that the coronavirus is happening and like I don't have anywhere else to like pick it from, they pick from their RSP. And that's one of the biggest mistakes. Especially banks will tell you that. Banks will
Yeah.
tell you do not pull from your retirement right now because that's actually a mistake.
Yeah.
That's them saying from their own plans in general. Even from our plans, it's the same thing. It's a mistake. So for those people who don't even have anywhere else and stuff, just no matter what, like don't pull from your RSP, but you know, like can't stop people. Like they will anyways. Like sometimes they really have to. It could like that's the thing. But pulling from an RSP is technically one of the biggest mistakes and stuff that you could make right now. Um, TFSA, like you know, your tax-free savings account, that was built for that technically. That's where you technically need to pull out from because that has no issues. It's very liquid. What you have there, you can pull out. No money owed necessarily. Um, but the thing is, like for those people who don't even have savings, at least like take this time to really, you know, like this is ground zero for everybody pretty much. Even for those ones who haven't saved, at least now they get the concept that instead of buying it for things that they're panicking on, they can start working on things and then start like you know like aspiring to invest towards what matters now instead. And yeah, I really just hope that they can find something because that's one thing we have a hard time like tell like coming up for people to how they're even gonna get seed money in the first place. What we're designed to even help them is if they had a seed money, we know how to grow it better. But
Yeah.
if yeah, so that's all as far as I can tell. Like I can just offer them free information and I can meet with them and stuff and I can discuss how money works in how money works in Canada in general. Like nothing specific, it's just how money works in Canada. So they get like a fresh starting point of what to think about. They can Google it themselves. They can even search up how everything works and verify themselves because this information has always been public. It's just no one really, everybody's
Mm,
so distracted they don't really look it up. And while
yeah.
things are good, you don't really try to you don't really try to look for a solution for a problem because you think there's no problem in the first place.
Well, I mean, like, I kind of wish that we were offered these kind of, I guess, courses or classes to actually learn these kind of things in high school and junior high. So, that it's a big thing. So, financial literacy is a it's a pretty important thing. Yet, it's very underrated, and it's very, it's not in a general mainstream. If that makes sense. So, what would be the biggest misconceptions with people's financials? What would be your two biggest misconceptions
Well,
about people's financials?
in general, it's not a misconception. It's just more like you need to be more aware of it now because we as humans we generally go for what's safe and what usually is like you know word of mouth. It's like yeah, that's where I bank. That's where I bank too. Oh, that's where you should bank because it's all about that basically. And it's not like everybody researches, but they do pass on the information they hear and like. Does that make sense? So by nature, we've just been shown things that we generally would like hearing, and then if we like it enough, we pass it along. Now, the information that you know for yourself is like takes a little bit, and if you were to do things yourself too, it's like a thick book. If you were to search the things yourself, it's a thick book. You might as well really get like your license and then have people guide you through the whole financial literacy thing. But that's the thing, like that in nature, people that's why like it's just not offered in schools because people by default don't really like to talk or worry about money in general. But if they really don't want to worry about money, why not learn about money so you never have to worry about it? Does that make sense? So I don't think it was the school system's fault for taking out taxation in comm classes,
Okay.
but I think it's just people don't like showing up to it when they don't really know how it works yet, or nor have they experienced financial crisis or just
There just wasn't a need.
on bills in general, you know?
I mean, if you're 15, 16, 17, or 18-year old, it's not something important.
Yeah. Why would I even buy a house right now? Like, you know, like I'm so young. I don't even it's always something like that. And I understand. And that's the thing too. Like our job as a financial advisor is just to give away the free information and see if they want to work with it. Because if they don't and if they you know, like if you have someone just take it based on somebody else's decision, they don't understand it themselves, it usually leads to things like, oh yeah, I will pull my money out of the RSP. I will pull my money out of this investment that I should have kept my money in to just keep growing. Because right now, the investments are actually doing okay if you keep it. You only lose money when you sell it, right? Even in stocks, it's the same thing. You only lose money when you sell it. So I think people just really need to understand, and if they really need to learn it themselves, there is a course for that. But yeah, hopefully I'm answering your question. Did I answer your question by any chance? Because I just rambled on like a few other information in there too.
No, those are really good. I was just thinking like because like for let's say for the normal individual, let's say from the age ranges between 20 to I'd say 28. I guess we're probably just getting off college or in college, and then they have student debt and whatnot. I find that some people think that like their concept of a loan would be, oh yeah, it's something that I can pay down the road, but later on it tends to bite them later on. So an extreme example, I've heard and seen people that would take out their student loans, go to school, yes, and then they would spend the rest of the money on their tickets to EDC Las Vegas, and I'm
Yeah,
like, what the fuck are you doing, right?
yeah.
So,
I do get that a lot too. Like how people use their student loans for laptops, even just on a new phone, fully paid, right? Because they don't want to do the whole like monthly thing. Um, what's what's weird there is that like if you actually did the same thing to towards financial education, you could get all of that. You could still get all of that. It's just now you know how to use the money and stuff better. That's really
yeah,
essentially it. Uh, right now, by nature, people will try to like even you like I literally hear people using their student loans for stocking up right now, and I'm like, is that even allowed? Can you use that for food and stuff? It's like, yeah, you can just some of them you can use it for like anything. I'm like, oh, I did not know that. Because me, like the way I dealt with student loans, it was just I just had to pay it right away, kind of thing. It was like even made like that for me. I couldn't do anything about it.
yeah,
But yeah, like especially right now, like how people are still have these student loans, and then school is trying to keep going, but it's not doing as well as how we. Well, it's actually pretty good with the Zoom thing, but yeah, like it for the rest of the other things where it needed the physical presence and stuff, like that's all gone now at this point.
yeah.
Um,
So what would it be some strong habits that you could have people implement today to have a better habit on paying off their student debt or just being more financially efficient and productive? That way they don't hit those huge downfalls. Because at the end of the day, when you buy uh, EDC tickets to Las Vegas with your student loan, how are you going to pay that back? Like they tend to rely on, oh,
oh,
in worries, I'll get a job, I'll get hired, I can pay that off. But what if you don't get hired? What if this virus right now happens and now you can't even get hired? You can't even find work.
yeah, that's a really good point actually. For those things, I think other than just holding on to your money, know what to do with the money. And yeah,
Mm,
like I said, like I don't want any of your audience to take me as their personal financial advisor until they like meet me in person in Zoom. But um, I want them to really search it up themselves. Everything, like how money works in Canada. If not, I can always like show them to and guide them through it. They really need to start at some point somewhere. If it's free, then good. Take it like just like you did. You pretty much just saw me just to learn how money works in Canada in general.
so
And
what was that website you showed me? The Canadian Financial something.
oh
You
no, that's from our license. Like it's patented.
right,
Yeah, it's
right,
patented.
right,
So
right.
traditionally we had to show up in their door and really show them this in person and discuss them in person. But nowadays we can do it through Zoom. But I'd have to be with them like one on one kind of thing. But when it comes to it, yeah, like I need them to actually look it up themselves, and then because I just work at a brokerage, and a brokerage is not the company itself. We represent many companies, so I can't usually say, oh yeah, I am this company.
McDonald's is for you, or maybe KFC is for you. I don't know which
Yeah,
restaurant kind of deal.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got you.
basically, we're just people who know. all of the industry and stuff, and we can offer pretty much whatever, but it depends on them individually what they would need. So how it would work for them at this point is just really learn how money works in Canada. Not just me too, like other financial advisors can even speak to you about how money works in Canada. The banks, hopefully they're gonna start Zoom sessions soon for people, like so
Yeah.
they start availing on their things again, because people really need to know how money works in Canada, especially right now. But just talking about no coronavirus in general, just students and stuff, like if they were to know how money works in Canada right now while they're in school, it might even help them pay off their student loan, even if they spend some of it on EDC tickets. Because
Mm,
that's the concept. There is a weird concept out there. It's like a teeter totter and stuff that if you live lavishly too much, you're not going to have anything to grow with. And then later on, you're going to pay for it, right?
right.
But that's a concept too. On the other side, you would have to, like, if you lived humbly and then you don't really, or like, it's like you spend too much, you don't get much. And then you spend less, you'll get a lot later. But that's just like teeter totter concepts. That's like black and white. Um, what I want people to understand is there is a way to enjoy life, spend on EDC tickets, at the same time pay off that student loan debt. And if they really knew how money works in Canada, and I really emphasize this over and over again because this is public information. This is just information you can search yourself and do yourself without even taking a bank plan, for example. Do you know what I mean? Or anything. You can just manage the money yourself. But if things get too complicated, that's what financial advisors are for. And there's always one in every place. The thing is, yeah, if they really understood how money works in Canada, yeah, they would never have to worry about the EDC tickets they spent on. They would never have to worry about their student loans not being paid. They might even pay before their course is even done. And I've seen people pay it off and then just drop out.
Right. Right.
Yeah, because what they even used to pay off their student loan ended up being their real source of income, which still feeds them even nowadays, like on a coronavirus, and they're not stuck on a shift. They don't depend on shifts. And I know them personally. And that's the thing too. If people knew about it, then maybe they would do the same. They don't have to drop out. They can just pay off their student loans and still
Mm,
show up to EDC, Coachella even.
yeah. Yeah. Why not? Why not have both? Sweet. So, yeah, for you viewers out there who found a little bit of a interest and value in like, hey, like now's the time. Now that your time's freed up, and it's maybe it's finally time to open up that book and learn a little bit about uh, your financials and just the overall foundation basics. That way, you can make a more strategic and productive approach when doing certain decisions based on like your income and like what to do next. Definitely hit up Ralph. We'll have his link of his page or his contact information below, or you can just send him a DM,
Yeah,
send him a message saying
I
like, "Hey, I
recommend just
saw
the
you do a
DM
Kim
because
video."
we're a lot more formal on this. We don't make websites to do these things and stuff. It's just more general information that
Right.
people can use for themselves. Because if I was to really lead you to a website, then you might end up in our products, which is not my point. I just want people to be able to know what to do with what they have already and maybe even learn how it works in general, because that might help them more than selling them a product that apparently will, which is only going to save them in retirement kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
because the concept
So
is like you don't want to mess on something that you don't even want to depend on right now. You don't want to take from something you can't even, like, that's why it's wrong to take from the RSP now, because that you may need later. You don't even need it now. But if you take from that now, it's going to be a big effect later.
all right. Right. Yeah. So we have a question right before we wrap things up. So
Oh,
Taylor says, "What advice would you give to someone who wants to invest now?"
oh, for someone to invest now, here's the thing, like all the advisors in my brokerage too, or in the brokerage I work in, is that right now it's like a falling knife. While it goes down still, expect the things you invest now to still keep going down. There are some that are going up even, especially like the Dow Jones. Um, those are like the eight large cap companies, like large corporations that are like, kind of like the S&P 500 or like that Fortune 500, the top 500 companies in the US. They have an eight one too. That one's doing good, while the S&P 500 is doing well. So right now you can't really be certain in investing things now because right now it's still going down. The point is to really just have, like while people are at home, if you can come up with like a side hustle and stuff, whatever it may be, even if it's $80 a pop, $20 a pop, you need to hold on to that until they say things are going back up. And there is a correct term for that too. And then, especially right now, like here's the big issue of people. When they say back in 2008, when they announced recession happened, or recession is now in effect, or recession has started, that doesn't mean the market is crashing. That means the market crash is almost over. That
Mm,
if you have no seeds by the time they say recession has started, that means you have nothing to plant. So if you've invested it possibly way too early too, you might not be able to use that value because it's on a negative possibly. What you want to do is just kind of hold on to it and really study hard in which ones you can like put into, because there are some out there too that even when the market is down, you can actually put it there and it'll grow when the market goes up anytime without you having to time it. And I even showed you that, Kim, personally, right? And I can even discuss with you guys this one too through a Zoom call. Now that you guys asked the question, yeah, I can discuss this, how this exactly works, because it's key that people understand that, like if you invest now and it's a falling knife, or for people with investments and they pull out their money now, you're going to lose money. You're going to lose value for sure. So right now, just it's good that people can hustle. And if you can hustle too, even if it's $20 a pop, just keep doing that right now. Because the moment they say recession is hit or recession started, whatever they say they always announce it as a press, on the moment they say that, you should start looking at what to invest in. The people that have evolved during this crisis, the people that are yet to even evolve more from what you've seen, like if Zoom is doing well, don't just look at Zoom, because there's other people that are thinking like Zoom nowadays too.
yeah,
And you could capitalize on them. That's the most key there too, is that all the good ideas are happening right now while the coronavirus is happening. While it's all down and while everybody's giving away for free, just know which one gives so much value, even for free. And by the time things get better, those guys are going to be the ones ahead. Does that make sense?
definitely. I really like how you bring up that point because it's something that I heavily solidify in my consultations for branding, marketing, and sales. Is really like how can you stay relevant and thriving in this situation so that once things kind of like I guess return to normal, you'd be ahead of your competition. You'd be more relevant. You'd be out there, and you'd be, I guess, an industry leader at that point. So it's really important that you have that huge boost, that huge head start, and you take advantage of this certain situation. You actually, rather than having it against you, have it use it with you. Use it as a tool rather than something that's putting you down and putting your business down. It's in fact like if you're very solution focused and you look at the positives, this is a very fortunate thing. As unfortunate as it sounds, it's a huge advantage to many of us. It's just some people don't see it, but for those who do, what can you do? Like how can you turn this and leverage it to something that's fortunate for you? Right before we wrap things up, because we're about the 1 o'clock mark, what are the final things you'd like to give to everyone?
Before I go, I don't want to say anything specific, but I just want to point out there, like some people, they could be in the professional scene. They could be a doctor. They could be an engineer. If their job was to fail them, who's to say that playing Call of Duty and streaming it online, like, especially now that Call of Duty Warzone is out, Who's to say that playing that and streaming that won't feed you? Who's to say that that money you can't invest later on when things get better? There's so many things out there that has nothing to do with making you do something that you don't want to do. If it's fun, don't play Warzone if you don't like Warzone, you know. But if you generally like something and you believe in it enough for it to either be fun, for it to either be connecting with other people, for it to be bringing people in, that's something you should think about. Because, like I said, everything that's free right now, look at the ones that are giving value to people, the ones that are making people happy. Those are the ones you're going to invest in if they are a company stock index, you know, or that
Yeah.
company is a stock index, you know. It's all there. Like right now, too, it's like everybody gets to breathe. But, you know, the guys out there putting out in media, they're making you like panic. But this is actually the time to breathe in, not like
Mm.
panic and stuff.
Yeah.
Because other than that,
Awesome.
even the guys that know what to do, they're not doing anything necessarily right now. They're just breathing. So should you. This is the time everybody should take, like, you know, take the time to really just, all right, what can I really do? Not for somebody, but for myself. And why that's key right now? Because yourself might have a family behind you, depending on you. And right now, your company is not feeding your family, the company you work at. So it's good that people really take this time to really breathe and think. Yeah, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ralph. Really appreciate it. And I hope everyone here got value out of this. And if you'd like to get way more and look more into what you can do right now and just like overall just supplement and educate yourself a little bit more, then Ralph is definitely the expert to talk to. He's got some really great insights. And I think a lot. Like I think worst case scenario, you learn an extra thing or two. So you never know.
Not necessarily that one, just a person that learned from mistakes, you know, like I learned from so many mistakes already. I've lost a lot. So I'm just here to help because I've lost it even before the coronavirus happened. I've lost everything before all of like recession was, you know, like I've been there, done that. So I can at least like teach them how to recover, if anything. And like I said, guys, don't let me do the math in these things. I will pull out my software for you guys because I don't want to miss anything, if anything. I'm still young and damn, my math is definitely not fast. But yeah, hopefully that helps, Kim. And thank you so much for this one. And I really appreciate how we got to talk about this and bring this out to people because if you have that concern, other people may have that concern too. Just like the person asking
Right.
the question. Yeah. Um, that's the thing. They can always see me. Just hit me up on DM too, and you get to learn how money works in Canada in general. Nothing special, just general.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. And super excited to see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.